Welcome to Speak English Podcast with Rory and Alex.
Every new year, there's this universal feeling, right? It's like a psychological reset point. We all pause, we reflect, and there's this huge surge of ambition to finally commit to something big. Maybe it's mastering a skill like English or, a major career pivot. But here's the question that really defines everything. What if 1 year from now you looked back and nothing had changed? Not for lack of talent, but just because you never set a real strategic direction.
That exact thought is the heart of our deep dive today. We are not here to talk about finding more willpower. We are mapping out a strategic path for 2026. This is really for the learner who wants that quick, thorough knowledge. And the core insight, across all our sources, is that progress just comes down to a better strategy. You have to decide where you're going and then design a system that makes it, well, almost easy to get there.
Yeah, and we've got a really compelling stack of sources for you. We're synthesizing two main areas. First, we are breaking down strategic goal setting, how to turn those vague New Year's wishes into measurable daily actions, especially for the English learner. And second, we're zooming out a bit to look at some major 2026 trends, like intentional event design, which really shows that this idea of intentionality, it's the key to success everywhere right now.
But before we start building that map, we have to identify the traps. Our research points to 5 main reasons resolutions just crumble. It's like this annual ritual of self-sabotage. It usually starts with unrealistic expectations, thinking you can get to advanced fluency in 3 months while working a full-time job.
Right, and that's quickly followed by just vague goals. If your goal is, I want to improve my English, your brain has no idea what to do next. It needs a target.
Then you have the third one, which is kind of the opposite extreme. Overwhelming and rigid plans, trying to stick to a 4-hour-a-day study schedule that just immediately crashes and burns. And fourth, a lack of accountability, which leads to that crippling guilt spiral when you miss one day and feel like, well, the whole year is ruined.
And the final one, which I think gets overlooked a lot, is just the absence of enjoyment. If the process is pure drudgery, you're fighting against your own human nature. A sustainable system has to have some pleasure in it.
So let's start by dismantling that guilt spiral because it's all built on a flawed idea. We need to shift completely from willpower to strategy. People so often internalize failure, they think, I just lack the willpower to succeed.
But the sources really push us to see willpower as a finite thing. It's a resource, like a battery that drains all day while you make decisions and resist temptations. If you're only relying on willpower for something hard, you will eventually fail when that battery hits zero.
You have to design the environment to win. Think of it this way. If your kitchen was a total mess, you wouldn't blame yourself for ordering takeout, right? You'd fix the kitchen. Success is determined by strategy. It's about designing a system where you need very little willpower. The adjustment isn't try harder, it's make the right path the easiest path.
And that strategic approach is really unlocked by that psychological reset point of the new year. It lets us ditch the fixed mindset, that belief that our abilities are set in stone, which makes us terrified of mistakes, and adopt a growth mindset instead.
A growth mindset is just the understanding that skills aren't innate. They get better with effort, with strategic practice. And for an English learner, it's transformative. When you make a mistake, a fixed mindset tells you, see, I'm bad at this. But a growth mindset says, oh, that mistake is data. It shows me exactly what I need to practice next. It turns shame into fuel.
That reframing is everything for long-term survival. And here's where the strategy gets a little counterintuitive. Our sources emphasize over and over that consistency matters so much more than intensity. Trying to cram 4 hours of study on a Saturday is it's way less effective than 20 minutes every single morning. Success is built quietly.
Which brings us to that self-sabotage trap that kills consistency. All or nothing thinking. We demand this perfect, unbroken streak, and if we miss one day, we feel like the whole thing is ruined, and we just abandon the plan. The pain of losing that perfect record is bigger than the benefit of just starting again tomorrow.
That perfect streak is the enemy. It really is. We have to redefine what perfection even is here. Consistency just means showing up most of the time, not all of the time. Okay, so we know vague goals fail. We need a way to structure this new strategy, and that's where the SMART framework comes in. It's this time-tested tool that turns those fuzzy wishes into a real, concrete roadmap.
Exactly. The SMART acronym forces clarity. Let's break it down, but add a twist for the learner.
Okay, let's start with S for specific.
This means defining the application of the skill, not just the skill. So instead of speak better, your goal is, by the end of Q1, I will be able to participate in a 30-minute team meeting and add 2 of my own ideas without a script. You see? It defines the environment, the time, the output. It's concrete.
Next, M for measurable. This is so important because language improvement feels slow, and that can kill your confidence. You have to get away from relying on just your feelings.
Absolutely. You need objective metrics, not I feel more confident, but I will read one English novel a month and write a 5-sentence summary. Or maybe by June, I'll understand 80% of this specific news podcast at normal speed. You track the outcome, not your mood.
And A for achievable. This one requires some brutal honesty about your real life, your real energy levels. Don't plan for the ideal version of you. Plan for the you that exists right now.
The best advice I've seen on this is your daily goal should feel almost insultingly small. If you're a busy professional, 20 or 30 minutes a day is so much more sustainable than 2 hours. The goal here isn't a quick fix. It's guaranteeing consistency.
R for relevant. This is the why. It's the engine. If your goal isn't deeply connected to your values, you just won't stick with it when things get hard. If the goal is a promotion, your why is career growth. If it's watching shows without subtitles, your why is pure enjoyment.
And finally, T for time-bound. A whole year is just too big to manage. You have to use clear milestones, break the year into quarters. A beginner might aim to master foundational tenses by March and handle simple like travel English by June.
And to tie that all together, you should do the reverse engineering exercise. Don't start with January 1st. You start at the end. Picture yourself on December 31st, 2026. What are you doing? Write it down. Then you work backward. What had to happen in the fall for that to be true? What about the summer? It forces a logical sequence of steps.
Okay, so now you have this perfectly structured, achievable goal. But the next biggest threat isn't your talent. It's the modern digital world we live in. Success requires defocus, and our focus is, well, it's constantly being degraded.
The digital trap. It starts with concepts like the Oxford word of the year for 2025, rage bait. It's content that's deliberately made to provoke anger or outrage just because that emotion guarantees clicks.
And this constant diet of emotional manipulation plus 2024's word of the year, brain rot, that mental drain from low-quality scrolling, it's having a physical effect. It's weakening the prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
Let's just quickly define that. The PFC is like your brain's CEO. It handles planning, impulse control, and, importantly for us, language production, speaking, and writing. Rage bait hijacks the emotional brain, the amygdala. And if your emotional brain is constantly screaming, your rational CEO, the PFC, just can't do the slow, hard work of building a sentence in another language.
And this explains that huge roadblock so many people face. The understanding versus speaking paradox. We call it the silent struggle. You can understand a native speaker on a podcast perfectly, but when you open your mouth, crickets. Nothing comes out.
Why does that happen?
It's the gap between your passive vocabulary, all the words you recognize, and your active vocabulary, the tiny fraction you can actually use. When you listen, your brain does this sophisticated thing called pattern filling. It hears a few words and fills in the rest from context, so you feel fluent. But when you try to speak, you realize all those filled gaps are actually missing from your active memory.
And there's a sound level hurdle too, right?
A phonetic hurdle, yeah.
Yeah.
English is a stress-time language, so unlike some other languages, it relies on rhythm. That rhythm is created by reducing unstressed vowels down to the schwa sound, to that lazy, quick sound. If you try to pronounce every vowel clearly, you sound very unnatural, kind of choppy.
So what's the solution?
The 2026 solution to bridge that gap and train the rhythm is the shadowing technique. It's an intense exercise where you listen to native speech, you speak along with it immediately, trying to match the rhythm, the stress, the intonation perfectly. It's a real workout for your mouth and your brain.
That sounds intense, but necessary. Okay, let's pivot from studying to integration. The most successful learners go beyond studying and build an English learning ecosystem. It's a system that turns time you already have, your commute, your scrolling time, into something productive.
Exactly. This ecosystem needs 3 crucial zones. First is active learning. That's your dedicated time, even if it's just 20 minutes. Consistency over duration.
And you make those 20 minutes super efficient using neuroscience, right? Like spaced repetition.
Right. Spaced repetition is the anti-cramming technique. You review information just before you naturally forget it, forcing your brain to build a stronger memory.
And then there's active recall,
which is probably the most powerful learning technique there is. Instead of passively rereading notes, you force your brain to retrieve the answers. The struggle of retrieval is what actually builds the strong neural pathways. It's like lifting a weight for your brain.
And the third one is interleaving.
Interleaving, yeah. Instead of just doing 20 minutes of grammar, you mix it up. 5 minutes of grammar, 5 of listening, 5 of vocabulary. It trains your mental flexibility, which is what real conversation demands.
Okay, that's zone one. What's the second zone?
The second is passive exposure. This is where English becomes the background soundtrack to your life. Change your phone language, listen to podcasts about your hobbies, cooking, history, whatever in English, watch shows with English audio and subtitles. It's all about high-volume, low-effort input.
And the third zone is the output zone, the practical application. This is where the rubber meets the road. You have to get over that fear of making mistakes because, the sources are clear. You get ready by doing it, not before you do it. Start small. Narrate your day in your head in English, then move to low-stakes writing like a daily journal.
And to make all of this happen, the ultimate strategy is micro-habits. These are goals that are just too small to argue with. The goal is so tiny, like read one paragraph, write one new sentence, that your mental resistance it disappears.
And the power there isn't in the habit itself, it's in the identity building. Every time you do that tiny thing, you cast a vote for the identity of someone who practices English daily. You stop trying to learn and you become a learner. That shift is self-reinforcing.
And quick note for those intermediate learners who are stuck in what we call the language graveyard, where progress just stalls. Your strategy has to change. Stop studying about English and start using it. Focus on collocations, those natural chunks of language, like make a decision. Learning them as one unit makes you sound instantly more natural. And you also have to hunt down your fossilized errors, those old mistakes you don't even hear anymore. That usually requires feedback from a tutor.
Okay, let's connect this back to the bigger picture. Because this need for strategy and intentional design isn't just about language learning. It is dominating professional fields. And the event trends of 2026 really prove that. Successful organizations are shifting from bigger to smarter.
Absolutely. If a corporation is spending millions to tailor an event, you can tailor your 20 minutes of study. It's the same principle. We're seeing hybrid as the default for events. They're designed from day one to serve both in-person and virtual attendees equally well, with broadcast quality streaming and AI networking.
Which leads right into personalization at the minimum. People now expect the same customization they get from Netflix or Spotify, tailored agendas, smart badges, all of that.
And we're seeing wellness as a design principle, not just water bottles on a table, but intentional breathing room between sessions to help people actually retain information. Same with sustainability. It's shifted from just recycling bins to sustainability by design things like automated temperature control, energy-efficient AV systems.
And speaking of AV, we're seeing sensory tech like spatial audio moving from a niche thing to something really noticeable. It positions sound in 3D space, which can make virtual experiences feel incredibly real.
And behind all of that are smart spaces. Venues are transforming. They're using AVO IP systems, real-time building dashboards. The lesson for the learner is profound. Success relies on combining that operational clarity, creative design, and tech strategically. You're building an environment for success.
Strategy is the design, accountability is the fuel. You have to build systems to keep yourself on track. The simplest is the streak method, just putting a big X on a paper calendar every day you practice. That visual proof is surprisingly powerful.
And you can amplify that with social commitment. Just tell people what you're doing. It engages your ego. For really high stakes, there's the financial stake, where you literally bet money on hitting your goal. Loss aversion is a powerful motivator.
But I want to push back a little on this. Isn't some rigidity necessary? If you start accepting slips, doesn't that just become an excuse to be lazy?
That's a great question. But the research on long-term habits shows that rigidity is what guarantees failure. The key is reflection, not regret. You need a progress portfolio. Record yourself speaking on the 1st of every month. When you feel stuck in June, listen to your January recording. That concrete proof will shatter any feeling of stagnation.
That makes a lot of sense. So what about when motivation just disappears? We need a plan for those days.
That's the minimum viable practice. When you're exhausted, commit to just 5 minutes of flashcards or reading one paragraph. The goal is just to maintain the streak, preserve the identity. The golden rule is simple. Never miss 2 days in a row. Acknowledge the slip, use the compassionate reset, not the guilt spiral, and just start again the next day. Make the task small enough to win.
It really all circles back to aligning our goals with our actual values. If your goal truly reflects what matters to you, family, career, just pure enjoyment, the motivation is intrinsic. It's persistent. It's much harder to derail.
Exactly. True progress isn't measured by these dramatic short-term results. It's measured by consistent, thoughtful effort combined with self-awareness and realistic strategies. The best goals combine clarity, realism, and above all, just relentless consistency.
So the journey you're building this year, it's not just about mastering a skill. It's about building the identity of someone who keeps promises to themselves. You're proving to yourself that you are capable of long-term strategic execution. So we want to leave you with a provocative thought to carry forward. Once you prove to yourself you can tackle a difficult long-term goal like this, what other seemingly impossible goals in your life suddenly start to look achievable?
Take care of your energy, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye for now.